Catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.
Smile, guys, smile. It's a wonderful day. Whenever it feels like you're in the middle of anything, whenever it feels like you choke, whenever it feels like you're sinking, you're losing breath, keep going. Nothing will work unless you do. Keep moving. Welcome to Tony's Tech Side. I live stream on www.africatechradio.com every weekday from 9 a.m. West African time till midday, wherever you're listening from. Like, comment, share. We'll learn a tech word here in this episode. We dig deep into the rubbles of history to find precious jewels of knowledge to launch us into the future. And then I'll be sharing the most important and juiciest tech stories impacting Africa to keep you informed. You can share your stories with the rest of us on WhatsApp, text, or send me a voice note on 0913-558-1766. Please add +234 if you're texting from outside Nigeria. As I live stream today, the 243rd day of 2023. There are 122 days left in the year from this particular day, the 31st of August. And digging deep into the rubbles of history, in 1981, 142 years ago, Emmanuel Goldberg was born, the inventor of, things like microdots, the Kinema movie camera, and the Contax 35mm camera. He died on the 13th of September 1970 when he was 89 years. Digging deeper, in 1897, 126 years from the year 2023, Thomas Edison, gets his patent for the kinetoscope. It's a motion picture viewer. And then further on, in the year 1995, and that's like 28 years ago, the game Need for Speed, it was released for PC. For PC. And still 25 years ago, in 1998, the learning company announced the completion of its merger with Broadband Software. And then later on in 1999, which is 24 years from today, NVIDIA introduced the GPU and the GeForce. And then finally, in the year 2004, Aldus, the company that created PageMaker, considered the world's first desktop publishing application, merged with Adobe, 2004. And the company, Adobe is like the company that created PostScript, and was the page description language that powered many early laser printers. The combination of PageMaker running on Apple's Mac, the Macintosh, and printing to the Apple's PostScript-powered laser writer sparked the desktop publishing revolution in the 1980s. If you actually remember, if you're in, like sub-Saharan Africa, there was a time when we had like that desktop publishing revolution rush where everyone was learning desktop publishing packages. That's the only thing. If you're like, some people would even go to the extent of saying, I know computers. Like, I know computers because, I have the basic desktop publishing skills. Then we used to put it in our CVs and brag about it and say, come on, I know this thing. So that revolution started in the 1980s with, the Aldus and Adobe and the Apple Macintosh, like the whole combination of that, the 1980s, boom. So if you think in the 1990s that you were on top of the world with desktop publishing, well, it actually had gone like a decade before you actually jumped onto it. And I still actually see people do that, but it's not exactly, it didn't have the same kind of sugar rush kind of energy as at the time when we're actually all about it. Our word for today, the word for today is AI. AI, artificial intelligence. So it's a set of technologies. Remember, artificial intelligence technologies. Never say AI technology, it's technologies, because it's a set of technologies that come together and enable computers to perform a variety of advanced functions, including the ability to see, to understand, and to translate spoken and written language, to analyze data and make recommendations, and even more. And as a field of study, AI is a field of science that's concerned with building computers and machines that can reason, learn, and act in such a way that would normally require human intelligence, or that involves data, whose scale exceeds what humans can analyze. And this is according to one of those who are actually building AI technologies across the world, Google. Yes, that is how they, define AI. AI is a very broad field that encompasses many different disciplines: computer science, data analytics, and statistics, hardware and software engineering, linguistics. Yes, very important, because we talk about computer generated language. I know my sister who is studying for her master's in linguistics and English, came home one day and was like, "Oh, so Tony, just like this computer generator." I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of that, but what does it have to do with you? You're studying English." And she's like, "Oh, yes. So my thesis is going to be," I'm like, "Oh, you're going to write your thesis on computer generated language?" I'm like, "Are you serious about that?" But yes, so linguistics is also one of the fields or disciplines, that is a part of AI as a broad field. Neuroscience also is one of those fields. Philosophy and psychology are also one of the fields. These are just a couple of the fields that have been identified now as the disciplines that make up that field known as the AI, if we're talking about AI as a field of study. And on an operational level for business users, AI is a set of technologies that are based primarily on machine learning and deep learning. It's used for data analytics, predictions and forecasting, object categorization, natural language processing, recommendations, intelligent data retrieval, and more. And some of the use cases, very popular use cases for AI that you've most likely seen around you, is speech recognition. Yeah, so anything that can automatically convert spoken speech into written text. I know if you go on your keypad, maybe most of the keypads, you see the microphone sound. You tap on it. When you tap the microphone sound, you say things, and it can actually just, drop it in text, right? So you're speaking and then it's writing, or it's hearing you and it's searching in case you're like on the internet. So it just searches for whatever, you voice, so voice search. So speech recognition is one way. Image recognition is another one. Anything that can identify and categorize various aspects of an image. Yeah, you upload an image somewhere and it can recognize certain features of the image and produce the same way so there's something where you can search for images, right? So you put an image of someone's face on the World Wide Web, or the internet rather, and then it gives you it reproduces that person's face in different ways on different pages where that face or something close to that face has been seen. Yep. So, and also translation. That's another. Anytime you see these things, it's AI at work. So translation will be anything that can translate written or spoken words from one language to another. Yep. That's you go on Google and you go on Google Translate and you put ce n'est pas in English, and it says ce n'est pas, and it gives you like the English version. You're like, yes, and then you go and then you say, "Oh, I can speak French, ce n'est pas, whatever." So there's also predictive modeling. This is when you can mine data to forecast specific outcomes with huge degrees of granularity. So this happens when you can predict that it's going to rain tomorrow or next tomorrow. Yeah, and you're not just predicting because you have one baba somewhere behind that says it's going to rain tomorrow, but because you've mined the data, you've structured the data in such a way that like the probability of it happening is really, really high, and then you can now forecast. So when they say we're going to experience a drought, in so time, when they say we'll have more rainfall, like, they've said in Nigeria, more rainfall in October or something, it's really just artificial intelligence at work. And then data analytics is also one thing, finding patterns and relationships in data for business intelligence to make business decisions, to be able to get more customers. Anything that informs your business, decisions, AI at work. And if you can scan networks for cyber attacks and threats autonomously, right, it's also going to be AI technologies at work. One major thing that you should note is it's not just one technology at work. It's a lot of technologies coming together under one name called AI to perform these functions that you see and these wonderful things that you see. The next time, of course, there are some gray sides of it, to AI and AI technologies, but just like every other technology, we can relate because it's how we use it that it's going to turn out for us. we strongly condemn all kinds of military coups across the continent. No reason whatsoever to militarize any zone. And we also strongly condemn all sorts of political coups. Very important. Both ways, both of them are extremities. Well, in Gabon, we woke up to a sad or road shock on Wednesday night / Thursday morning, immediately after the elections were concluded in Gabon. And less than a day after declaring the coup in Gabon, the country's military officers have restored internet access. Good or not? Abi, is it that these guys are just, I don't want to say then these guys. Well, checks from NetBlocks, that's a site dedicated to mapping internet freedom, showed that connectivity had been largely restored. And until recently, the now ousted President Ali Bongo-led government ordered a nationwide restriction on the internet. And this is not the only country that's done this year already. Somalia, Ethiopia, I think has done that. Somalia, about 5 or 6 countries so far that I have reported on this particular show, at different times or different points in time, have actually restricted the internet, either close to an election, during an election, after an election, or during crisis. During crisis. And the restriction order prevented citizens from discussing the election and its potential outcome online. And upon the conclusion of the voting process for presidential and legislative positions, the government ordered network providers to cut off internet access. It was enforced on the weekend of the election, where citizens were cut off literally. And the military officers in the oil-producing state Gabon seized power on Wednesday night and placed the president who had been, president since 2009, who recently just got declared by the state election body, the country's election body, for winning a third term in office. We'll let that slide and move on to Nigeria, where the Electricity Regulatory Commission General Manager or Head, Abdulkadir Shetima, has declared that customers with faulty meters, Nigeria, listen up, don't say make some noise. Okay, listen up, guys. If you have a faulty meter, you're eligible for prompt repair within 2 days. So you let them know within 2 days, and you're not going to, be charged anything at all. Your faulty meter is going to be repaired and nothing at no cost. Now, this is important because if at all your meter is faulty and you don't let them know within this particular time, 2 working days, then that warranty might actually be off, and the no cost might be off the table too. And if the fault of the meter is caused by you, the customer, then I'm sorry, you have to actually be the one to cover the repair expenses. Furthermore, any balance on the old meter would be transferred to a new one if you get a new meter. And it's also important to note that, the MD said that customers are required to grant access to their meters and facilitate the connection to discos. Failure to comply will result in disconnection, and customers also have a role to play in obliging the safeguarding of their meters and preventing unauthorized access. So don't go and say that someone else had access to it when you're supposed to protect it, and when you're supposed to ensure that nobody that's not supposed to have access to your meter, your electricity meter, has access to it. Now, the big boys in the room, MTN Nigeria, still staying in Nigeria. They raised 125 billion naira via their Series 6 and 7 commercial paper notes to diversify their financing options. According to the statement by MTN Nigeria, the issuance of these commercial paper notes is in line with the strategy of MTN to diversify the sources of getting funds and reduce the average cost of debt. And they actually sought to raise just 100 billion naira. And the offer recorded 146% subscription with 125 billion naira across both series. and this represents the largest aggregate commercial paper issuance within a calendar year by any corporation in Nigeria's debt capital markets. This is according to what MTN says. Of course, MTN is the big dog in the room, and they've been looking for ways to diversify. MTN generally, MTN Africa have been looking for a way to diversify, their sources of funding and revenue. And I know they're into fintech with Momo. They're in bed with MasterCard. They're also doing a thing with insurance, InsurTech, because telco kind of like is connect everything that has to do with someone's life right now, and I think because they have the weight, because they have the name, and because they've been on the ground, like they were one of the first movers, most of the things that would happen, most of the weight that needs to be moved in that telco space, except for those who come in and want to innovate, right? That's the only way. But MTN, we still give it to MTN, and we hope that the rising cost, inflation, and the reducing buying power of Nigerians do not put a further dent to the debt of MTN and to the revenue and the earnings of MTN. But for now, MTN can be classified as an NDK in Nigeria. This is dedicating tennis hustle to Elon Musk. The hustle is real. From introducing almost every new feature that every other social media app introduces on X, formerly known as Twitter, to converting Twitter to anything that sounds interesting to converting Twitter to, we're not sure what exactly Twitter should be, what it is right now, to making Twitter a rival to almost every other social media platform, popular or not so popular, and introducing all the features that we feel like, yes, these are the features that everybody, the hustle is real. I feel your pain, bro. Okay, he's not my bro because he's one of the richest people in the world though, but I can advise him, right? I can. Well, X, formerly known as Twitter, has lifted the ban on paid political adverts. X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, lifted this ban on political advertising on Tuesday. Now, this move, they say, come as the 2024 election campaign season in the United States kicks off. A blog post by X, laid out its approach to political discourse as election nears. And before now, they had prohibited the promotion political adverts generally, and then they changed and said, for certain causes, we're gonna tone it down a bit. But then political advertising was banned in 2019 ahead of 2020 US presidential vote or elections in US, and we all know what happened with the elections in 2020 in the United States. Afterwards, after like 2-3 years, we realized that all the rumors about some particular forces determining the results of the election were kind of true. Yes, so extra forces, I will not mention names. You can Google and find what the forces that contributed to the results of the 2020 election in US, what those forces were. And at that particular time, the then CEO of Twitter, now known as X, Jack Dorsey, the one everyone knows as Jack, said that political message reach should be earned and not bought. Well, the person who he almost always agrees with, which is Elon Musk, the person who they sold out to, maybe doesn't agree about this. And political advertising on social media has become a contentious issue, not just in the United States, but then across the continent. See, Gabon now restricted internet access, especially for social media, because social media kind of like has a role to play in elections. Same thing happened in almost about 4 elections or 5 elections in the last 2 years that have happened on the continent of Africa. In fact, Nigeria's last 3 elections have had something to do with social media, right? And not just elections, the fallout of elections, the kind of misinformation that happens during, before and after elections, all of that, social media has a big role to play. But then what they're saying this time, Twitter needs money. And because they need money, they're opening out. You can pay, right? And then you can have your adverts, political adverts. But then we're going to prohibit false information, misinformation, and hateful comments and whatnot. This decision will also affect South Africa, because though Nigeria has had elections in 2023, the early part of 2023, I think Q1/Q2, and a couple of countries have also had their elections, but South Africa's election is in 2024, almost at the same time, that we're having the elections of, the United States, the same year. How will this affect South Africa? Waiting with bated breath to see what will happen with what the current force and the young people in South Africa are currently doing with Julius Malema and the rest of them. And we hope that social media plays a positive role in the elections coming up in South Africa, and we don't see what happened with Russia and the US in the 2020 election happening in South Africa. Something that's really important that I note as I close up on this episode would be Google's Duet AI, the fact that it can help you write your emails, or so they say. It's Gmail's new AI companion, which will be able to help you draft and customize your emails. And it's part of a number of updates about this AI-powered companion, Duet AI, which is becoming generally available for workspace users, adding them with various tasks across meetings, document, Google Chat, and more. Now, Google has said that Duet AI would enhance Gmail's existing smart reply feature by allowing you to draft longer and more personalized emails with a tap. I know right now the way it exists is if someone sends you an email, there's some very short, witty replies you can give, like well received, oh thanks, things like that. But with Duet AI, what Google is saying that you can now use your own words to draft an email message, as it can understand the context from your previous emails in a thread to create replies that are relevant to the current conversation. You can also use the AI feature to make the tone of your drafted email sound more formal or elaborate on the draft by adding more detail to the message. And you can opt to decrease the length of your drafted email if you're looking for brevity. And also, Google added a fun, though likely not as helpful feature, which is the I am lucky feature. So this is a throwback to the Google button that will take you directly to the first search result when you type a query into the Google search box. In this case, however, the I am feeling lucky option provided by the AI lets you choose from a number of fun variations on tone and style for the email content that you have drafted. And then just like this similar help me write feature, which will also come to Docs and Google Notes. Now this would let you change the tone of your content, summarize your sections, add bullets, elaborate or shorten your text, receive a different generated draft if you didn't like the first one, right? Like you retry. And there are also more features on this. You can also provide your own instructions on how you want your content refined through a custom option. And Google has set October the 4th as the date for its annual fall hardware event, where the company is likely to introduce the next Pixel phone and its latest watch. Yesterday, I let you know also on this show that for Apple, theirs is on September 12. Yes, the 12th of September. That's where they're going to be unveiling the iPhone 15. Bro, okay. One very important information for you today. Whatever happens, whenever it happens, I really don't care. You don't need to also tell yourself this will pass. Tell yourself also, I love my life. This is Tony's Tech Side.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.